Download my free legato course right now and learn to play fast in the fastest way possible. It's 4 core exercises that you need to focus on in order to reach the highest level of mastery. And then I'm going to give you the 3 sub-skills of legato. Once you master these 3 little skills, then the overall skill of playing very fast runs using hammer-ons and pull-offs will be very easy. So go sign up right now and get immediate access for free. See you in the course. Hello! Fretboard shapes is traditionally a way of chopping up the whole fretboard into little manageable chunks, cage shapes or 3-note per string scale shapes. Because then we think if we can master those first, this vertical thing, and then afterwards we can put them together and practice going back and forth, then we can learn to master the whole fretboard. And that's just an unconscious strategy we all have because that's the way we all do it, or so we think. But it's not necessarily the smartest or the fastest way to get freedom on the fretboard. There's another little concept that I developed that I call power paths. And it's simply a matter of constructing your own scale shapes. For instance, if I want, and this is function more than it is trying to learn the whole fretboard here, but you'll do the same thing. So, let's say you want to move from the lowest A to the highest A on the fretboard. That's your focus. It's not to chop up stuff and learn the whole, it's just that focus, okay? So we could create a fretboard shape that goes like that, and then I can, whatever I play, will suddenly look like I have total control over these shapes, right? And can go back and forth between them. But I haven't. I just created a power path, which is as easy or as hard to learn as any of other shape. But once you've learned that, you suddenly have freedom to move back and forth. And if you're learning the vertical shapes as well, you will quickly discover that you're moving back and forth between shapes that you're already practicing. And now you'll have begun to create a pathway between them. So this is really, really beneficial. It's a shortcut to getting some new skills rapidly, and you're still strengthening your project, which is just learning the shapes, right, and having the ability to go back and forth between them. So what I'd like to do in this video is have you construct a couple of pathways here, power paths, and I'm going to just show you 2 of mine, and I just made them up in my head just like that, and you can do the same thing. But instead of you having to, looking into this video and then walking away from it and having an extra thing in your mind that you can practice someday when you get time to do it, instead of doing that, pull out your guitar right now and then learn these shapes with me this instance, and do it so you can take it with you, so you can practice again tonight, or you can practice tomorrow or 2 days from now, because you can remember what we did. Because that's the first step to learning anything, integrated into your brain, so you don't have to rely on tabs or PDFs or watching the video again in order for you to remember it. So, get on top of this and then absorb what we're dealing with here instead of using it as entertainment, then actually learn something right away. Okay? So let's get started. Let's go close up here and develop a couple of power paths. So let's create the first power path here. I'm going to use something very systematic in order to show you what I mean here. But you can do completely chaotic power paths that has no system in them. They're just random notes across the fretboard that you learn to play up and down. So let's do the first one. We're in the key of A minor here, and we can, first off, we're going to use the A harmonic minor scale. And if we were to play that in a cage shape, it would look something like this. And that's totally focused on keeping your fingers in that same place. Or we could do a 3-note per string shape. And that's totally focused on giving you an equal amount of notes on each shape, so you can, or each string, so you can do. So you have an easy time doing sequences because it's the same movements every time. But let's create a path that actually, or shape that has the focus of giving you some freedom here instead. And the first one is very systematic, as I said. If you just take the first two notes, or first two strings here, the low E string, you have the 5th, the 7th, and the 8th on the low E string, and the same on the A string. Those would be the first 6 notes of the A minor scale. So 5, 7, and 8 on both the low E and A string. And then we add the raised 7th in the 4th fret to this shape. And that's really our shape here. So, but then we have 4 notes on the low E string. So we don't have the, hey, what is this? We got 4 notes. We can't do that. But there's a simple way of playing those, and you can just go, use a position shift there. But we're going to do something a little bit more interesting than that, because the 4 notes really here prompts us to do something else than just play, right, 3 notes on one string. So we could, for instance, we could go, or we can go, 3 notes up. Let's just do that. 3 notes up from the lowest note, go up 1 step, and play 3 notes up there. Right, so it would be 4, 5, 7, and then 5, 7, 8. And then we could play the 3 notes on this string here, right? And now we have a little shape that works really well for octaves, so we could do the exact same thing here, which would make us learn this very rapidly. So I'm still going to focus on my little 6-note shape here. We move that 6-note shape up to the 2 middle strings, 7, 9, and 10 on both the D and the G string. And then you have your raised 7th of the A harmonic minor scale in the 6th fret on the D string. Right, so you have that same shape up here. Right? So, and we can do the same thing up here. Let me just spell that out for you. So it was 6, 7 on the D string, 6, 7, 9, and 10, and then 7, 9, and 10 on the G string. So we go up here. I have my 6-note shape there, 10, 12, and 13th on both the B string and the high E string. And then I have the raised 7th in the 9th fret. Right? And just for the sake of our little philosophy of power paths here, let's go for the raised 7th also here in the 16th fret on the high E string. And but that's not part of the system. But that's not what power paths is about. Power paths is about marking out a shape that you can use to play music with. And so you can do anything. And this is just very systematic. And we just break that system a little bit and reach for the highest note there in the 16th fret on the high E string. So, and of course you have to practice going from one octave to the other. So you have to really look at the bottom shape here and then say, okay, where's the first note of the new shape? Oh, it's there. So you practice going like that, because, playing each shape once you're there, because it's the same shape times 3, it's pretty easy. But it's the going back and forth between these 3 shapes that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So mark out and play it in the same key. Don't move it around until it's really firmly entrenched in your brain. How to get from one shape to another. When you're up here, for instance, on the 2 middle strings and you're on the G string, then you have to reach all the way up there. And that shift there, you have to just mark that out in your brain right now, please. So your 4th finger in the 10th, and then your 1st finger in the 9th. And then you can play the first 3 notes there. And if this wasn't enough, you have to do the same thing in the other direction. So you have to focus on, where do I go from here? That's not given. That's not just because you can go in one direction doesn't mean that you can go in the other as well. So you practice this shape up here, 13, 12, and 10, and then 9th, right? But then you have to be able to visualize where is the middle shape there. So you have to, okay, where was it? Okay, 10, 9, okay. So it's a very good idea to take the crossing from one to the other. Also here, last combination of notes on the last string in the first shape, and then the first combination of notes in the new shape, and you practice going back and forth like that, and then just don't go back and forth all the time like that. You can do that in the beginning, but then start having fun with it. take that note there, play the other ones as... Make sure you can jump around. Just so you have total control over where you go, right? And then you can start having fun. You can just play the same thing all the way up because this is kind of a system, which is really cool for fast ones. Right? Or... I'm basically just playing 3 notes. And the other way. Right? And so that's one little power path. And you can start practicing that. And you can use it for phrasing and you can use it to play fast because the notes are laid out in a system, almost. Except that last note up there. But that would be a good note to end on, right? And you can use all kinds of little strategies or sequences. One was just to play 3 notes up from all the notes, all the first finger notes here. But you could also, play down 3 notes. So instead of playing up like 4, 5, 6, or 7, you play 7, 5, 4, and then 8, 7, 5, right? Or the other way around. So you can do, because you have that irregular shape there, which is really systematic anyway, but it's irregular because you have 4 notes on one string and then 3 notes on another, it's going to influence what you choose to play. And so you suddenly have a shape that inspires you and that gives you new options, right? And then afterwards you can look at, okay, what shapes that I am practicing already is this touching? So the first one, if you're practicing cage shapes, that would just be the bottom of it. That's just, okay, so now I know I'm in that first position, minus cage shape, and then how about here, up here? Okay, then I'm in the middle of my position 2 shape here, and up here I'm in shape number 3, and I'm in the top of it. Ah, interesting. So once you are totally comfortable with this, you can start reminding you of where you are in the other shape. Right? So that's a really neat feature of these shapes. Let's create another one. You could expand just this, because if you practice this, it's a good idea to just expand what you know already instead of moving out into something completely different, because that's the way to get fast skills. So one of the ways anyway. But let's just focus on this little 6-note shape again here. Let's stay in the natural minor instead, and let's just let's go up here. So instead of doing this note down here, we're just going to take the same 6-note shape and then move 1 note up into the 10th fret on the A string. So now we have a shape that looks like this: 5, 7, 8 on the low E string, 5, 7, 8 on the A string, and then you can move up here and say 7, 8, and 10 on the A string as well. Right? And you can go up and play the same. Instead of expanding it with this, our little 6-note shape, you go up to the 12th. Right? And you do the same thing up here. Right? So you have almost the same idea here. And I can do the same thing. I can play, move up, and then, right? Or I can go. So you can apply all kinds of sequences to these shapes. Once I've been practicing that, the next very obvious thing is to combine the two. So I could go. now I have... Or I can make it the harmonic minor note, just one half step up there. But it gives me more options. Oh, I could create another one. Let's just stay in the same concept here. Let me say that I'm just going to put two 6-note shapes on top of each other. So I have 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8 on both strings, and then I go 7, 8, 10 up here. So I have two 6-note combinations, and I'm going to play that in octaves. Just a 10th fret. Right? So now I can really, but then we have 4 notes on each string. We have the same note there in the 5th fret on the A string as we have on the low E string. We can't, that's not a scale shape, but yes it is. You just have to use it. Say, okay, first I'm here, then I'm moving up here. So I'm really not playing 4 notes per string as such, I'm playing 3. And then I move to the next, the 2 middle string, and then up here. And then, so I'm constantly, right? Right? I'm just constantly going back and forth between these 6-note shapes in octaves. But that's one systematic way of laying out the notes. You can do something completely chaotic, like, let's just, again, to make this understandable and quickly learned, just focus on that same 6-note shape. That's our beginning, our beginning here, down here. So we have the 5th, 7th, and 8th on both the low E string and the A string. But let's then move up to this combination up here we had before, and play a 6-note shape up here. So I can do, that's the first 4 notes of my 3-note per string harmonic minor shape, right? But I could just play those up here. So I have the 6th, the 7th, and the 9th on the D string, and I have the 5th, the 7th, and the 9th on the G string, right? Right? And then I could go up and play my 6-note shape that I know already up here, right? From the 7th to the 8th, or 9th, sorry, to the 10th. 7, 9, and 10 on both the 2 middle strings, D and G. And then I can move up to the 9th, the 10th, I'm just improvising here, 9, 10, and 12 on the D and G, right? So now I have that 6-note shape going up to the next. And then I'm having this 6-note shape up here, and this one up here. Let me see. Okay, now I'm out of the harmonic minor if I choose this note. I could also go here. Okay, let's do something interesting now. We have this 6-note shape right there. We have the 9th, 10th, and 12th. 9, 10, and 12 on the G string. Or you go for harmonic minor, and you go for the 13th fret up there. Right? But from here, I could just, if I'm looking at a piece of paper, and I have the whole scale marked out on the fretboard, I could go one string from here. So I could play those notes, and then I could go to the 10th, the 13th, and the 14th on that same string. Right? So I come from here, 9, 10, and 13, and then 10, 13, and 14. And then I could go even higher. I could go 13, 14, and 16. And then I could move down. So, okay. Right? This can be a little bit hard to follow. I agree on that, but if you sit down with a piece of paper, you can simply mark out this path here. So now we have right? Or I could play it the other way around. And have fun with the notes. You see how playing on one string really affects the way the notes I choose? And from here I could then go play my 6-note harmonic minor 6-note shape up here, 13, 15, and 17th on the B string, and 13, 16th, and 17th on the high E string. That was 13, 15 and 17, B string, and then 13, 16 and 17. So now I have really something really that makes me look like I have total control over the whole fretboard here. And I can, of course, expand it even further. And then I can start practicing it back and forth until I have total comfort, total confidence in knowing that I can just, and as I said, stay in the same key until this is completely easy. Can expand my shape even further here, right? This is such a cool tool because it gives you results so fast. And you're practicing the same thing you did before. You're basically just integrating the shapes, the vertical or 3-note position shapes. You're integrating them as well because you're really navigating in between them. And then, as I said before, you can sit down and say, okay, where am I really? In what vertical shapes? What am I touching here? What is this? Where are the other notes, on the other strings here? Oh, I'm in that shape. Oh, I know that shape. And suddenly, you can kind of, I go here, I'm in the first position shape, and then I move up here, and then I'm in that shape that I know so well. And suddenly, you have these two integrated. You have kind of a bridge, a pathway from one to the other. Oh, cool. So this is a really, really helpful concept. And if you should grow tired of one of your paths here, you just create a new one. You just have fun with something else. So, now it's your turn, and you can create any type of pathway. It doesn't have to be complex, doesn't have to be simple, just anything you like that would suit your needs.